He bent down, his tall body moving smoothly like a cat stretching. His long fingers picked up the paper. It felt thin and light in his hand. When he turned it over, he saw dark letters written on it. The words said, "Be warned." For a moment, Alexander's heart beat a little faster. But then, instead of being scared, he let out a loud laugh. It was so loud it bounced off the walls and filled the whole room. His face looked like he thought it was all a silly joke. "What a silly person," he said with pride. He stood up straight and tall like a king. They couldn't even face the great Alexander Prescott. If they came here, they wouldn't live to tell about it. His words were brave, like a lion roaring in the jungle. Alexander walked to the fridge. He moved like he owned the whole world, not worried at all. His steps were strong and sure. He was in his own home, his safe place. But someone out there was trying to him. He thought about it and laughed again, making fun of whoever wrote the note. "Ha! They probably can't even tie their own shoes," he said to himself, shaking his head. In the other room, his wife was getting dressed. She was putting on a pretty blue dress that matched her eyes. As she fixed her hair, she heard Alexander laughing. It made her curious. What could be so funny? When she finished dressing, she walked out of the room. She saw Alexander standing by the fridge, drinking water from a tall glass. "What made you laugh so much?" she asked. Her voice was soft and a little worried. Alexander turned to look at her. His face changed, getting dark and serious, like a storm cloud rolling in. He put down his glass and walked towards Ophelia. His steps were slow but sure, like a cat stalking its prey. Ophelia's heart started beating really fast, like a little bird trapped in a cage. She found it hard to breathe because Alexander was so close. He always made her feel this way, all tingly and excited. "Alexander, what are you doing?" she asked softly. Her voice was shaky. She looked right into his eyes, feeling like she might fall into them. They were deep and dark. Alexander had made her forget all about her question without even trying. He smirked. Then, without a word, he walked past her, leaving her standing there confused. What was that all about? "Creepy man," Ophelia said to herself. She stood there for a moment, her mind spinning like a merry-go-round. She shook her head, trying to clear her thoughts. Then she walked over to the TV. She picked up the remote. She turned on a movie channel. The screen lighted up with bright colors. Ophelia sat down on the soft, comfy couch. She sank into it like it was giving her a hug. The room was quiet, except for the TV sounds. She could hear water running. Alexander was taking a shower. After a while, Alexander came out of the bathroom. His hair was still wet, little drops of water falling onto his shoulders. He sat down next to Ophelia to watch the movie with her. They were waiting for their dinner to come, both feeling a little hungry. As they watched, Ophelia suddenly sat up straight. Her eyes got big and round, and her face lit up like a Christmas tree. On the screen was one of her favorite actors. "Oh, Alexander," she said, her voice all excited and bubbly. "I didn't notice you sitting right next to me. Look, it's my movie boyfriend." Alexander raised one eyebrow, his forehead wrinkling a little. "What's his name?" he asked. His voice sounded a little grumpy, like he had eaten something sour. "Johnny Depp," Ophelia said proudly. Her eyes were shining, and she had a big smile on her face. Alexander looked surprised. His eyebrows went up so high they almost touched his hair. "Really? That's the best you can do? There are so many better movie stars in Hollywood. Why did you pick him?" He sounded like he couldn't believe what he was hearing. Ophelia didn't back down. She sat up even straighter. "Yes, it's him I choose. I love Johnny Depp," she said. Her voice was strong and sure, like she was stating a fact about the weather. "But Johnny Depp is nothing like me," Alexander reminded her. He puffed out his chest a little. Ophelia rolled her eyes. They moved in a big circle. "I didn't say I wanted anyone like you. I said I want Johnny Depp," she said simply. Alexander's lips curled into a smile. It was the kind of smirk that made Ophelia's heart do a little flip. He raised one eyebrow again, looking very sure of himself. But Johnny Depp is a little like me, you know, he said. His voice was smooth like honey, sweet and sticky. Ophelia just laughed and kept watching her movie, leaving Alexander to wonder if she agreed with him or not. Hey, you know Johnny Depp? He's a bit like me. That means you must want me too, Alexander repeated, just to get her attention. His face had a huge smile. Alexander, please. I'm trying to watch a movie here, she said. She let out a big sigh. Can't you just stop for a bit? Stop being so silly and cheesy. I really don't like all this mushy talk. I'm begging you, please just stop. She felt frustrated and wanted to be left alone to enjoy her movie in peace. Not long after, they heard a loud knock at the door. It made them both jump a little. Alexander looked at his watch. The little hand was almost on the 1. Oh, good. They came when they said they would, he said. He sounded pleased. He got up from his comfy spot and walked to the door. His steps were quick. When he opened the door, he saw some people with a big cart. The cart had lots of yummy-looking food on it. The people brought the cart in and put all the food on the table. It looked really nice. Alexander gave them some extra money as a thank you. The people smiled and left. Alexander shut the door with a soft click. He turned to look at his wife. She was still sitting on the couch, looking at the TV. Come on, let's go eat our food, Alexander said. He really wanted his wife to join him for the meal. After they finished eating all the food, they went back to the living room. He sat down next to his wife on the couch. She turned her head to look at him. Her eyes were wide, and her eyebrows were scrunched together. She didn't look happy at all. Why? What are you doing now? She said loudly. Alexander felt confused. I don't get it, he said. We're just watching movies together. I didn't even touch you. I only sat down next to you. Why are you acting so upset? Someone might think I'm being mean to you or trying to hurt you, but I'm just sitting here. I'm not doing anything bad, he joked. Time passed slowly. She kept watching her movies and didn't talk to Alexander at all. He started to feel very sleepy. His eyes felt heavy and kept trying to close. He let out a yawn. You know what? He said, his words a bit mumbly from being so tired. If I stay here with you, I won't get a good sleep. So I think I'm going to go to bed now. He smiled at her, even though he felt sad that she was ignoring him. Good, please go, she said. Her voice was cold and hard. Don't sleep on my side of the bed. Sleep on your own side, she warned. Alexander's eyebrows went up in surprise. Oh, so we have sides of the bed now? He said. He was trying to sound playful. Let's see what you do when I sleep on your side. When you come to bed later, please push me over to my side. He winked at her. I won't do that. Never, she said, firm. She sounded very sure of herself, like nothing could change her mind. Alexander laughed, but it was a small, quiet laugh. He felt a mix of feelings, a bit sad, a bit amused, and very tired. He walked to the bedroom, his feet dragging a little on the carpet. When he got to bed, he lay down on her side. It felt a bit strange, but also exciting, like he was doing something a little naughty. Meanwhile, his wife was still in the living room. She was so into her movie that she didn't even notice how much time had passed. The movie was very interesting. She felt happy and relaxed as she watched it. When it finally ended, she prepared to go to the room. She turned off the TV and stretched her arms above her head. Then she walked to the bedroom, feeling good after her movie. But when she got there, she had a big surprise. Her eyes went wide and her mouth fell open. There was Alexander, fast asleep on her side of the bed. He was snoring softly, looking very comfy. She stood there for a moment, not sure whether to feel angry or laugh at his silly trick. Ophelia's head was full of mixed-up feelings. She felt annoyed and puzzled. Alexander was acting so strangely. He wanted her to sleep in his usual spot on the bed. But why? She couldn't understand his thinking. As she lay down at his side, she felt the coolness of the sheets. They didn't smell like him, and that made her feel a bit sad. She tossed and turned for a while, her mind racing with questions. Eventually, tiredness won, and she drifted off to sleep. The night passed. When the first light of morning peeked through the curtains, Alexander's eyes fluttered open. He blinked a few times, feeling confused. Something was different. The view from this side of the bed wasn't what he was used to. He turned his head and saw her sleeping form. A warm, soft feeling spread in his chest. His lips curved into a gentle smile. Alexander felt a strong urge to be close to her. He moved slowly, trying not to wake her. Carefully, oh so carefully, he slipped his arm around her waist. Her warmth made him feel happy and safe. With a contented sigh, he closed his eyes and let sleep take him again. Time passed. Ophelia stirred. As she became aware of her surroundings, she felt something heavy on her waist. It was unfamiliar and alarming. Her heart started to race. She turned her head and saw Alexander's sleeping face so close to hers. Fear and surprise exploded inside her. Without thinking, she pushed him hard. A loud, high-pitched scream burst from her throat. The sudden noise filled the room, echoing off the walls. Alexander's eyes shot open, his body tensed. He sat up quickly, his head whipping from side to side. "What's wrong? What's going on?" he asked. His voice was rough with sleep but filled with worry. His eyes were wide, searching for any sign of danger. Ophelia looked at his scared face. Suddenly, the whole situation seemed very funny to her. Laughter bubbled up from her chest, spilling out in loud bursts. "That's what you get for sleeping on my side of the bed," she yelled between giggles. Her voice was loud and full of mischief. Feeling pleased with herself, she hopped out of bed. Her bare feet hit the cool floor. Just then, a sharping sound came from her phone. A new message had arrived. Curious, she picked up the device. Her eyes moved across the screen, reading the words. As she did, the laughter faded from her face.